Howdy y'all, Galator here, and for this episode of Vanilla Book Club, we're going to be reading Exile of the High Elves. I'm personally going to be reading this from Darnassus in the Cenarian Enclave. As the centuries passed, the Night Elves' new society grew strong and expanded throughout the budding forest that they came to call Ashenvale. Many of the creatures and species that were abundant before the Great Sundering, such as the furbolgs and quillboars, reappeared and flourished in the land. Under the Druids' benevolent leadership, the Night Elves enjoyed an era of unprecedented peace and tranquility under the stars. However, many of the original Highborn survivors grew restless. Like Illidan before them, they fell victim to the withdrawal that came from the loss of their coveted magics. They were tempted to tap the energies of the Well of Eternity and exult in their magical practices. Dathramar, the brash, outspoken leader of the Highborn, began to mock the Druids publicly, calling them cowards for refusing to wield the magic that he said was theirs by right. Malfurion and the Druids dismissed Dathramar's arguments and warned the Highborn that any use of magic would be punishable by death. In an insolent and ill-fated attempt to convince the Druids to rescind their law, Dathramar and his followers unleashed a terrible, magical storm upon Ashenvale. The Druids could not bring themselves to put so many of their kin to death, so they decided to exile the reckless Highborn from their lands. Dathramar and his followers, glad to be rid of their conservative cousins at last, boarded a number of specially crafted ships and set sail upon the seas. Though none of them knew what awaited them beyond the waters of the raging maelstrom, they were eager to establish their own homeland where they could practice their coveted magics with impunity. The Highborn, or Kaldori, as Azshara had named them in ages past, would eventually set shore upon the eastern land men would call Lordaeron. They planned to build their own magical kingdom, quel'thalas, and reject the Night Elves' precepts of moon worship and nocturnal activity. Forever after, they would embrace the sun and be known as the High Elves. So this episode of Vanilla Book Club is relatively short. It follows where Illidan has just put the new Well of Eternity water where Nordrassil now is. The 5 dragon aspects have blessed it, and then we get the world tree, and they get all the perks because of this world tree. The one rule that seems to be in place is the Night Elves can now not use arcane magic, because that's what drew the Burning Legion the first time around when they had the Well of Eternity. So you had the original lower class of the High Elf Society. They're now druidic, they're led by Malfurion, but you still have the former upper class, those that were under Azshara but still managed to escape the Well's destruction, and they still want to practice their arcane magics. So they try it, and instead of sentencing them all to death, Malfurion just banishes them all. So all of these former upper class High Elves go to the Eastern Kingdoms, up north, where today is the Ghostlands in the Burning Crusade. And in Warcraft 3, these High Elves are actually the ones that are the humans' allies, not the Night Elves. That's just due to proximity. Lordaeron's really close to quel'thalas. It's not close to Night Elf civilization. Alright, thanks for watching another episode of Vanilla WoW Book Club, and until next time, au revoir.